for the full moon session, Saturday, December 22nd.
Okay. Steve, do you want to check on something? Any procedure you want to do?
Saturday, December 22nd.
Okay, send your phone. Okay. Thank you, Joe, for recording. So I can move on to what about on Skype? Can you add? Let me add Steve.
How early were you, Lucy?
Yes.
How early were you?
I was here by 40 minutes, 20 minutes before the session.
And you were getting everything set up? Did you do anything to set up?
Yeah, I was checking on elections, and I got already done by Zilu. I checked on no, was there. Yeah.
Nice.
Secretary was there. I prepared already.
Good.
Everything was set.
Who's going to do video indexing? I got the video set up.
Okay. My machine is always bad. Maybe so. You can talk to Zilu, then in case I'll continue. No problem. I'm back up there.
All right, so I'm adding Steve to the groups. Is there anything else?
I already added him.
What?
I already added him.
Oh, you did?
Okay.
Cool. So I think we have everybody on the comm groups for now. So now, we got to do the strikes.
How to overcome from the strikes? Like I have 3 strikes. Is there any possibility to overcome from 3 number?
What?
Those are cumulative strikes, Zero, from previous sessions.
Yeah, I know. So how to overcome of this number 3? It will be always 3.
It's not adding up because you don't have strikes. Recently, you've been joining the session. It's like I think Zulu want to get away out of that. How can someone get away out of that? If it was the end of the month, we'll just do the new month.
No, not really. I mean, I feel like that you know, for now they should just accumulate and stick around, and then you know. In the future, we can see what we want to do, but the idea of the cumulative strikes is not to punish anyone. It's just to have a ranking, right? You know, so technically speaking, you know, Lucy and myself and Albina, we put in a lot of effort to be around when Zilu wasn't around, and so that's, you know, it's Zilu's not ranked at the bottom, you know, by any means, so it shouldn't be a big deal. But anyways, I don't think it would be fair if Lucy ranked higher than Zilu or lower than Zilu in a few months because Zilu wants to get rid of his previous strikes, you know? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So anyways, it's nothing bad. It's not like a big deal. It's just it just lets us know where people stand in the rankings. You know, and people might accumulate other strikes too if they're, you know, late. You know, so being late, for example, 5 minutes when you are scheduled to be on time, you know, it's not like the end of the world, but you're still going to get a strike, you know? That makes sense?
Yeah. But how if somebody have a problem with the internet, like I was having, and you still get this strike, does that really apply? It's like, I don't know really know the meaning of this strike anyway, but I'm not worried about it.
Yeah, I mean, if you know,
problem with the internet, that is not your wish to miss the session.
Sure, but if the internet shuts down, then you missed your work. It's kind of like if your car shuts down, you know, you take the bus, you know, you find a different internet connection, or you go to the internet cafe, or you call in with your phone, right? Or you find some other way to connect, because we have phone connections, we've got internet connections, we've got, you know, whatever means possible to connect. Or you do texting, text only. You could do text only if that's your only option. You only get 25% value for it, but you do whatever you can. And if you can't make it, you're not there, you know? And so basically what you're responsible for, if you can't make it, you should know beforehand. I mean, it would be very unlucky for the power outage to be the very second of the session, but let's say, you know, your power goes out 30 minutes before, you're not sure you can make it. If you can find someone else to take your spot, then you're fine. You just let people know that you're not going to be able to make it. You know?
Yes, I know. Getting on the phone, it is not so hard. But now, currently, when they pass the budget this June, we are so much affected, whereby you cannot even manage to buy this bundle that you can call it online. Maybe you can go to cafe. Is the thing become higher? I remember before I can use my phone, I can join the session using the phone. I buy the bundles, internet, and I can use. But now they really charge so high for our internet. So even
well, it's expensive, and maybe the cost of living goes up, you know. So we need to keep changing the local jurisdiction if necessary, based on internet costs, right? In the context of what? What, Albina?
Our jurisdiction in Kenya is not 600. It's more than that.
Yeah, so we should go over that. We can prioritize it for today. But my point that I'm trying to make, that is the most important point that I think we get caught up on a lot, you know, with all of us and Lucy too. But it's like, it's not about ourselves. If we always make it about ourselves, then we're not going to be successful, right? It's about the team. And based on the team, any one of us may miss a session, right? But we let each other know, and we all know that as a team, somebody has to be on time and somebody needs to run the session, right? Because we're going to be going public, and we're going to be inviting the public, and then someone's got to be here to do the work, right? Because it's like, it takes work and effort to run a session, and the public coming in is not going to know what to do, right? They have to learn. So that's the whole point. That's why we have strikes, right? So it doesn't matter, right, if you personally can't get on the internet because of power outage. If that affects the entire team, then we're all screwed, and the public's screwed, and like, it doesn't look good for anybody, right? So that's just what it is. So for example, everybody gets a strike if nobody schedules on time. If no one's willing to be on time and schedule on time, the entire team gets a strike because we all failed. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Right? It's like somebody has to be there. If you can't be there, right, ideally you will know that ahead of time, hopefully by at least 15, 20 minutes. Like Abdul, let's say Abdul was scheduled to be on time today. He went on Skype. He said he wasn't going to be able to make it, right? He wasn't feeling well. Boom. He doesn't get a strike. He told us that he wasn't going to be there. That's not a strike. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So if he was the only person scheduled to be on time, then instead of saying, oh, I'm going to be late, I'm going to be sick, I'm not going to make it, he'd be like, you know, I'm the only scheduled person to be on time. I can't make it. Can someone else fill in for me? And he would need to get someone to switch with him. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's about teamwork. Okay, it's not about everybody out for themselves. Like, that's the whole point of the strikes, is that we're working together as a team. So if you miss that point, then that's the problem. Okay. So did we do the strikes or not?
Pardon?
Did we get the strikes done or what? No, we didn't do it. So
We don't have a strike for
Abdul Zilu's here. Lucy is here. I'm here. And then Jessica and all these said no, so they don't get strikes. So no strikes for today.
Strike for Mamun.
Why is there a strike for
Also
Mamun?
for Sonat. Before this.
Sonat previously said you won't join. Again,
and again today I'm joining.
That is now confusion.
So why would there be a strike for Mamun?
You said you will join, maybe.
Yeah, so that's not a yes, though. He would have to be scheduled to get a strike. So maybe he's just saying he might be available. So let's say that, both Albina, Zilu, and Lucy couldn't make it, right? And it was just me. Obvious person to ask to come would be Mamun, because he's the only one who's potentially available. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So because Mamun might be available, if you guys can't make it, then he would be the next person who might be available. So we would contact Mamun. Mamun couldn't make it, then we would need to go to other people. But the idea is that by saying that you might be available, you're not going to get a strike if you can't make it, but then at least we know who might be available for scheduling. But you only get a strike if you're scheduled. So if you're scheduled to work during the session, then you need to come at some point. You don't necessarily need to come right at the beginning. If you're scheduled to be on time and work at the beginning, you need to be on time. Otherwise, you get a strike. Okay?
Yes.
And there needs to be at least 2 people that can start the session on time.
Okay. But if I did not schedule being on time and I get the time to be on time.
Is that a question?
You don't get a strike.
Yes, there's a question. Sometimes maybe if I did not schedule being on time late and again I'm showing on time. I'm gonna have.
Yeah, so if you just say that you're scheduled and you're not planning on being on time, you can still be on time. That's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
But then you don't risk, getting a strike. Right? So if there's someone who has really bad internet and they're not sure if they're going to be able to be on time or whatever, then maybe it's best that you don't have the entire organization be based on your internet, right? So somebody needs to be on time to the session. Maybe you're not the best one, right? Maybe let's find somebody else who might have slightly more stable internet or whatever. The point is that it's not about any individual. The reason that somebody needs to be on time is because we're a team. And as a team, the organization needs to start on time and be publicly accountable. Okay?
Yeah.
So we just need...
But it also helps us even to start up early, also to organize. We spend less time on setting up the session. So being on time also helps us, saves a lot of time.
Definitely. It helps a lot. Yeah. And it's also being professional. We want to be professional. We want to respect people's time, so it's like we start on time because we are, organized and professional. That's how we function, right? So it's part of our culture to be professional and start on time and to respect people's time and not just wait around, So, and if you're late, you're late. It's not like, oh, you're late, but we all waited around, did nothing for 15 minutes, and wasted everyone's time. And you're on time. It's like, no, you're 15 minutes late because you were 15 minutes late. And that's the way it is, So, and when you do that, because we have so many sessions and they're global sessions and people are in the middle of the night and all that stuff, it's just waiting 5 minutes is just not reasonable in the type of organization that we are, right? So we start on time. Cool. So anyways, let's move on. Are there any other questions about strikes?
Yeah. What's different between different between on time and coming late maybe? And maybe I will show up. Maybe.
Yeah, if you're gonna be late.
I don't understand. When they send this notification, say on time, say all this stuff, and someone does not even understand what's gonna happen if you are not going to be on time.
So if you schedule, if you schedule that you're going to come at some point, probably not the beginning, that would be column H. And you just say, okay, I'm scheduled to attend the session. That means that you're planning on coming, that you're scheduled, that everyone's expecting you to be there, to show up and to help. That you might not be there at the beginning, but you'll be there within the first hour or so, right? And then you'll be helping with the session, right? So if you're scheduled for the session, you're scheduled, right? You're not necessarily scheduled to be on time or early. That would be column G. So if someone schedules to be on time or early, it means that they are starting the session, right? It's kind of like, you know, if you work at an ice cream shop, right? The person who's scheduled to open the store needs to be there on time or early so that they can open the store so that it's open when opening time is at, right? Someone who's just scheduled to work there during the day doesn't have to open the store. They just show up for their regular hours and they're not opening the store, right? That's the difference. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So over time, what we're going to see is that for, you know, let's say like a planetary session or something, there is certain work that happens for the preparation and the opening and the actual on-time start, right? And then there's very different work that happens during the session or towards the end of the session. And then there's also the follow-up of the session. So there's technically, you know, 3 types of positions for every session where you have, you know, the setup in the beginning, you have the middle. And remember, when we have, you know, if there's multiple teams, there's going to be runners and there's going to be, you know, multiple note taking. And I mean, you need a lot of people. The more groups there are, the more people you need to organize and run it, right? And then, so let's say we had 50 people, you know, we would need like 5 or 10 runners and like all this other stuff. I mean, you need a whole group of people to run it, right? And then after the session, there's all the follow-up and making sure all the notes are linked and making sure this stories are told and the value tracking is completed, right? So there's a whole bunch of follow-up work as well. So we could actually schedule people to come at the end of the session to help get all the work at the end of the session completed as well, right? So there's different types of roles. Everyone doesn't need to be all at the same session at the same time, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Yes, but as a team, we need to make sure that all the roles are filled. And one of the roles is to be there at the beginning to start the session. If the session, it can't start at the beginning, that's a problem. And then we don't look professional, we don't look organized, and we're trying to, you know, raise money and transfer in the world. It's not going to help us. All right, any other questions about strikes? Yeah, but 3 strikes is nothing to worry about. I mean, look over here. We got, you know, other people with 10, 11, 6 strikes. Abdul's got 5. All right. How about the old world? Did you get the old world?
Yeah, I'm done with that.
Okay, so I think now we are to our rankings. We're still not particularly great on our rankings, but I think we're going with myself ranked highest. Then we had Albina, Lucy, Zilu, and then Steve. That sound right? But we do need to do our overall rankings. Maybe we'll get to it today. We can put it in our next steps. Or other. Okay, so we have some problems with our value and team equity. So we don't do new spreadsheets per session. Okay?
Okay.
So for this we're gonna use the steering team. Okay? So this would be steering team, and then we would mark here that steering teams happen on new/full moon. So also in this particular, oh, we didn't write it down. All right, we would write, you know, steering team, right? Because we switched up. What?
Should I delete the other one at the top? I think I created the core equity.
Well, we could copy and paste it. So if I go to the steering team.
I think we have a steering team before.
We do.
Before full moon, we had created another one for quoting.
So here we would just create a new tab for the steering team, and then this would be 16-170. Okay, so that's all we need to do is just create a new tab. We actually could duplicate, but for this time, let's just go ahead and copy and paste from the one that you created.
Okay.
And then we can delete that. Okay.
Yeah.
So select all. Okay, so I'm just copying and pasting here. So we started at. Do we start at 5?
Yes.
UTC. 5 UTC. I mean, maybe we'll end at like 7.5 because we're going pretty slow here. Getting caught up on strikes and stuff. So total hours 10. We need to add Steve O. Steve O. All right. Cool.
Did you remember to give Zonat a strike?
Why is Zonat getting a strike?
He was saying he's going to attend the session.
He was confused. He said no, he said yes.
Well, you guys can figure that out. I mean, I don't know myself. You'd have to say whether or not.
You can just give him, no problem. Say that.
That looks correct. So, is anyone in the middle of the night? Zilu, Steve-O?
Yeah, Zilu.
What?
Yes, this is the middle.
Zilu.
For us, it is 30 minutes to the 1.5.
It is just 9 p.m. We started 8 p.m. at our time.
Okay, so Zilu and Steve, or just Zilu? Just Zilu is in the middle of the night? Okay, that's probably why Abdul had to go to bed, because it was like middle of the night for him too. Okay, cool. So I think that looks correct to me. The full moon is 14.76, so this would be our network equity, or at least our preliminary equity. Wasn't somebody late? It was Steve-O, right? So put
No.
what?
Oh, Steve-O was late for 5 minutes. Okay, yeah.
So he's going to get a slightly less network equity. And then we can add the network equity real quick. So then you deleted that one. Cool. So we have so really we have the management team. I think it looks best to go like this. So this would be seasonal. Because technically, again, that can change, right?
Jay, can you share your screen?
Oh, yeah. So just going through, the global core team, which is Mercury now, right? Mercury. Steering team is new full moons, and this is just like weekly main session, right? So we're gonna be adding Earth, and we're gonna be adding Venus. All right, but other than that, I think everything is here, okay? There might be a couple other ones that we add, maybe in an eclipse session or two or whatever. Anyway, so if we go into network equity, all we have to do is just add in, we're starting
We didn't have a stretch at the bottom of the hour. Can we do a big stretch?
Yes, let's do a stretch. Good idea. Did everyone get their stretch?
Yes.
Great. All right. So Jessica's not here. Abdul's not here. But we have Steve O. And then we can add up all of that. So right now, this should just basically add up to be 100% of the week's hours. So we would add up to here, you'd say total for the week 3. And the total for week 3 at this point would be 183. So if this is equal to 183, what you end up with is 100% of the value is for the session for the week, right?
Yeah.
And the same would be for the fortnight, but for the month, you'll be starting on the second part of the month. So this is where we would add everything together, which would come up over here, total network hours. It's right here. So let's just make sure AT11. I'm not sure if this adds up correctly yet, but it looks like it's correct. So let's just add the last little bit here, plus this one. So that should be correct, 24 something or other. And then you'd have your monthly time. So you could see here, this would be equal to the total for the month. And then you can start making your monthly totals. So I'm messing it all up. And someone does need to still add in the hours, the normal hours. So if anyone's doing the pay and the pay.
Okay, for the normal hours, is it basing on that week? On what's on the hours, total hours someone has worked for that week? Is it the actual hours of the hours worked for the week?
Yeah, it's like the normal, just the normal actual hours for the week, yeah.
Actual hours that somebody worked for the week.
I'll do that later. To confirm on which hours I'm supposed to.
So for the month, today's would be about 7% of the total for the current month. And then Steve, the main thing that we're trying to make sure people understand is that, oh wait, that's not right. This is equal to this divided by that. There we go. And so what we want to make sure people understand here is that the seasonal session is currently worth 74% of the value for the month so far.
15-second pause.
It would be 5-second pause. Yeah, 5 seconds.
5-second pause.
Cool, thanks. All right, so anyway, so the seasonal session is 74% of the value of the month. So for last week, it was 93% of the week. For the first 2 weeks of the month, it was 80%, and for the whole month, it currently is at 74, and it'll probably go down to about 20% once we go to the Earth session, which is one of our in the Venus session. So the Earth session plus the Venus session plus the seasonal session is 75% of the value of the month. So those are the sessions that you don't want to miss as far as like building up network equity and being part of the whole community. So hopefully people begin to understand that. So anyways, we're done with the network equity for the full moon. If you guys wanted to, I could show you how to do all the calculations for the end of the week, because that's the only thing that's missing. But other than that, I think we are ready to move forward. So unless you guys want me to do the calculations, we're done with this.
Are we going to do Venus session? It will be on 26.
Yeah. The Venus session is after the last quarter moon.
Yeah.
And it could be as much as like 20% or more of the total value for the month. So let's move on unless somebody wants to do the calculations for the week. So are we ready to move on?
We can do this. Yeah, ready to move on.
Yeah. So
okay. We are on evaluation and prioritization.
And our weekly check-ins.
Yes, and global weekly check-in. Oh, our week is ending today?
The what?
No, this is the second day of the week.
This is the second day?
Yeah.
It's starting when?
It's the day from season. The first day of the new week.
Okay. I have no idea. Okay.
For prioritization spreadsheet, which one we are going to start with, the pro team or steering team?
Today is a steering team session.
Steve, are you still here? Yes. Waited until I forgot. Yeah. Yes.
So one thing that we could do as far as our prioritization is we could just continue everything that we didn't cover from the seasonal session just to move forward since we're on hard stop. And review other things from previous prioritization. We don't have to spend all the time doing the prioritization. We don't want to. But it was good to get a little time to at least do the global weekly check-in and stuff like that. So what's everybody working on right now?
I'm feeling weekly checking.
Okay.
I'm also feeling weekly checking.
Okay.
I'm done with weekly checking.
Okay. I'm just working on the our agenda and focus for the session. And I've also copied some of the stuff from our seasonal session that we didn't go over if you wanted to add anything. So whoever was doing indexing last time forgot to index the priorities from the manager's sync doc.
Zilo, are you doing indexing?
Video indexing, yes.
Okay.
Well, when we do the 1 minute, someone's supposed to be indexing everything from our 1 minute per session, per topic. Anyways, I'm just doing it now. So we have it all documented.
Doing.
Voila. So, Lucy, do you want to, are you guys finished with your weekly check-ins or?
Yeah, I'm waiting for people who are not yet. I'm done. So we can go to this outcome. I think we are really moving slow. Let's try.
Yeah, we're definitely moving slow today. But does anyone want to go through does anyone want to go through the actual prioritization spreadsheet, or do we want to just go to desired outcomes and do our focus from previous?
Go through the desired outcome, then we focus.
Okay, so you ready, Lucy?
I think we will take time when if we are going through desired prioritization. Let's just go desired.
Yeah. Then we focus on our topics.
So, Lucy, what are you doing? Are we still not done yet with the weekly check-in, or what's going on?
I have added 3 from.
I think we are waiting for people who we agree. Are we going for the prioritization? We just go to desired outcome.
But we agreed to go to desired outcome.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyone with the desired outcome? Any desired outcome that someone has?
To do the budget proposal, supporting budget proposals for each board to regulate and future election activity.
And also to review previous proposals from last quarter. Yes, from first quarter.
Anything else? Anyone with the desired outcome? Apart from budget?
We could spend more time doing some issues if we wanted to. It's not a desired outcome as a topic, but yeah, I feel like that went pretty well last time. Oh yes, hard stop, soft stop. That's super important. Super hard stop.
Okay. Environment. What kind of environment? Can you also review on that, or we are okay?
Yeah.
5 seconds.
We could do some worker involvement.
Worker involvement was just held up because of the supporting budgets. So if we review the results, we'll be able to finalize on worker involvement.
All right. Well, I think this looks good.
Don't forget to also see how we are on the payroll and just other topics. Payroll.
Going to do accounting for this.
The W8W9 people's name list.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think Zulu, you need to send me the form so that I can fill.
Which form is that, Zulu?
It's individual.
You need to send it on Skype. We didn't even get it.
The form.
Again,
form,
that we're not talking about other people doing work. We're talking about the work Zila is doing to set up the emails and communication about the W8 and W9 form. So we haven't sent anything out yet. We're still working on the list of who to send it to.
Oh, okay, fine.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I would like to know if we should continue filling the weekly check-in up to date. Or since we've been working, is it a must that we should fill it? Okay.
The weekly check-in is mandatory for all paid workers, and so if you didn't work, you still fill it out and you say that you didn't work, and then that's what you fill out in a weekly check-in.
Yeah.
You can just fill
Okay.
it.
It would be much quicker if you didn't do any work.
Okay.
Okay. So, do we need to do any client work coordination, or we just do that as part of Super Hard Stop? Do we need to do any more client work coordination, or is that just part of Super Hard Stop? Or
You can still go through that, and it will be fine.
all right. So maybe we have time to do it at the end.
And Jay, your screen is not shared.
Yeah, I can do that again. So technically, this is client work. All right, looks good to me.
Mm-hmm. So, next step. So, are we all agree with the topics that we prioritize? We have party budget, proposal, next month budget, super worker involvement, staffing position, co-chair issues, payroll, and client work coordination. Overall ranking as the last one. No objection.
Huh, looks good.
No objection from me.
Okay. We can move ahead then if there is no objection.
Okay, we have 3 minutes to the top of the hour. Why can't we take a break? Then we come back to continue.
Let's see if we can cover something for 3 minutes. Even if we can go for break.
You'll be fine. This will be breaking me. Our next step when we get back would be to do the schedule.
Yeah, review schedule. Yes.
5 minutes break.
Okay.
Hello.
Oh, hi. What's up, Zonad?
Yeah, Jay. Sorry, actually, I was very busy with stuff actually.
That's fine.
That's why it's been late actually.
It happens. We're on break right now, so we just have another 3 minutes or so for break. And when we come back, we'll let you check in, okay?
Okay. I'll wait. Okay. Thanks.
I'm back.
Yeah, I'm back.
Albina, you didn't read the management report yet.
Pardon?
I'm back.
The management report is still going to go on this.
Are we doing management report now?
Management is not today. I think that it was during seasonal Zilu.
But you guys, Albina and Lucy still didn't update it.
I updated on invoice tabulation. You can check there. Or maybe later.
I think yesterday we can still use the report that we had last time. I don't know whether I get wrong.
Do we need to put that into our agenda topics, the management report? So, Lucy, maybe scheduling?
Yes. Scheduling for, yeah, we are on scheduling. Schedules for the station top time. Break, come on.
Can we allow Zonat to check in, then we continue?
Oh yeah, Zonat is here.
Okay, Zonat.
Yeah. I'm actually 6 now. And actually was busy. That's why it's being late. But I think I feel it's very important. That's why I hurry up. And as far as I can join, that's why I'm pretty happy. That's why it's 6.
Okay. Okay, we can move to our schedule. How long are we going to be here? Because we already finished 1 hour.
I'm joining just now. In a few minutes, in the breaking time.
Yeah, I understand. I'm asking everyone, not.
I think our goal is to be done within an hour and a half from now. So it would be like another hour. We would start wrapping up in about an hour. So at like 1:15.
Okay. I think can write the
Lucy, are you moving us forward or what's going on?
Lucy, can you continue, please? Outreach. I'm wondering what can we do about outreach? Outreach Recruitment Commission.
That is the session that is coming. Luna.
Yeah. So we are now on the session that's coming. We have Venus session.
It's on Wednesday. Tomorrow is the recruitment commission. Tuesdays we have 8th moon, which is just co-chairs. Wednesday is the Venus session. And then we got a few days off before last quarter moon.
29th Saturday, 9 a.m. Then art session is on Thursday. 5 a.m. with DC.
5 a.m. it will be 8 hour time. 8 a.m. And then for 8th moon, that will be January 2nd.
Then the last for this month will be new moon.
New moon at
6 January 1 a.m. UTC.
It will be at what time now, Albina? 3 a.m. or what time?
Yeah, that will be not 3.
4.
3, 4.
Okay. I think now we are through with that. Anything we left out? Maybe we left main sessions like Cobalt main session and
that's fine.
For new one and old one for the coming week.
No, that's fine.
Can we add that?
No, let's just move on. We're fine. We know when they are.
Okay.
They're just on Wednesdays and Thursdays. So.
We are on proposals. I think we are going to review on the proposal, budget proposal results, and co-chair results.
I'm also going to copy and paste this down below in our notes. We'll have a proposal section.
Okay.
I will also copy for the results from previous first quarter.
And Zulu can copy for the co-chair. At least we need to move faster.
We're doing good. We're getting into it. We're getting into our proposals. This is good. This is one of the main reasons we're here. So, who wants to start?
So, can we start on proposals review, or we come back later?
Let's do the proposals. Who wants to start? We have 3 sets of proposals. We've got the elections for co-chair. We've got the budget, and we've got the quarter moon.
Budget, I don't know. Who will start? Budget proposal. I think I will start on budget proposal. Budget proposal only. 4 people votes, and the first option that passed is Super New World Super Team budget of December, January with the 9.25.
Is it 9 or 8.75?
8.75.
8.75 and 5.75. Sorry. Good.
Can I add my vote? I don't know. I voted and I don't see it here. Why?
Even me, can I vote?
Yes, you can add
Why
your vote.
not appearing and I was voting?
I don't know. Sometimes it makes mistakes, but yes, you can add your vote.
Oh, so where is the link so I can vote?
Silu, can you send us the link also?
Or you can just add it directly in the spreadsheet.
Okay.
Okay, fine.
And just add it here.
How are you voting, Lucy?
I'm voting new world. New world 7.
Oh, my vote is already there. Okay, good.
And on all world 9. Steve, are you voting?
Are you voting or no?
Please send me that.
Just say the
What we
proposal.
are adding on the spreadsheet.
Let me read for you proposal. The first proposal,
Okay.
approve a new world super team budget for 70 degrees, December, January. Then another proposal to pass the all world budget with 300, negative 300. We are in red with by 312.6. Can you let us know what are you voting for? Approving the new world budget. Tell me the numbers.
7.
All world.
7 also.
Okay.
Okay, I think we are good now. This is the result.
Did you want to vote?
Yeah.
Oh, good. We have Zonat. Zonat, what are you voting for? Approving new world super team budget. Which number? The number for approving new world super team budget for 70 degrees. Tell us the number.
I think I'm not sure what number should be.
We always have from 1 to 3 in.
New world have the balanced budget and old world have negative 312. This is the proposal.
Okay, old world, negative.
Old world is? You give which number?
7.
7. A new one?
Old world 7. New world 7.
Okay, thank you. Okay, new world is leading, approving. Old world is barely passed. So, anything else?
Yeah, so now we're gonna propose to certify the results. So proposal to certify results for new world vote, and then we have proposal to certify results for old world vote. Does anyone have any questions about the new world? None. Any concerns? None. So any objections? All right, so I think we're fine with the old world. So let's go through the new world. I do have a concern on the new world, but it does clearly pass.
Breath.
Oh, we're doing a breath? Okay, so at the 15 mark and the 45 mark, we do a breath now. So we all exhale together. So exhale. And hold, and then we're gonna inhale together. deep breath, and then we're going to exhale together. And just relax. That's part of our wellness routine these days. All right, so the proposal to certify the results of the old world budget vote. So are there any questions about the proposal? None. All right, so the only concern for me is just that, you know, it's obviously not balanced. So most likely will cause problems for next month. You know, and so at some point we do need to deal with that. We are going to be reviewing our 5X, so maybe there are problems with the calculations. So maybe that will address some of it. We will see. All right. So, any other concerns? All right. So, any objections? None. All right. So I think we have consensus there. It, you know, just barely passes, but that's not what you want your super team budget to look like. You want your super team budget to pass like the New World passed with an 8. Passing with a 6.57 is pretty nip and tuck there. But at least that gets you through the month. But you guys definitely want to get that budget balance. But let's go through, let's definitely do the 5X calculations. Do we have that in our agenda?
We don't have. We don't have.
Let's add that. So 5X calculations. All right. So moving on. Lucy?
Yes. Moving on to other proposal.
Results from the first quarter.
Yes, Albina.
The first proposal was to certify results from the Mercury new moon votes. All proposals passed except the last one. I think this one we had during Mercury session. That option passes with 7.2857. Should I move on?
Yeah.
The second one, to certify results from new moon votes. All passes. I think all proposal passed during that time, and it also passed. We have 7.5 pass. Another proposal is to make the minimum internal AMBAS client hours. That is 1 hour time is equals to 2 to 3 hours of work, which has around $30 to $45 per AMBAS budget pool. It passes with 7. The fourth one, to shut down for the time between the end of the selling date and the beginning of the lunar session, 6/12/1824. Barely passes with 6.4285.
So I would say that doesn't pass because it doesn't meet the 6.5 minimum. So I would put that in orange. And then from there, you know, it's kind of a confusing proposal, but basically this is part of like slowing down, where right now we only have a day off for the 24 hours of the 29th day of the month. But the idea here would be that we get 3 additional days off. The first day would be 6 hours off. The second one would be a half day off, and then you get 3/4 day off after the 3rd week. And then after the 4th week, you get a full day off. So in this context, we would shut down globally for 60 hours a month instead of just 24 hours a month. So anyways, we can review that later in the future, but let's move on for now.
Okay, another proposal is to ensure that each spreadsheet unlock links to their corresponding responsibility organizing link. For spreadsheets, it will be an info tab, and for docs, it can be at the bottom. Passes with 7.57142. Another one is to make the recruitment commission meeting monthly aligned with the lunar eclipses. Period for commissioners, approach for ambassadors. Next lunar period is 9 a.m. UTC on Monday. I think we saw that on the schedule. It passes with 7.1667. Another proposal is to implement existing policy. This policy already exists, but we haven't implemented it. To require all workers to fill out a quick check-in form that includes reporting, output, and deliverables for what they accomplished, as well as averaging total pay and actual rate per hour averages, so that we always have correct rankings. In order to get paid for payroll, should only take about 2 to 3 minutes. It passes with 7.4857. And the last one, implementation, isn't really a new policy. To encourage all existing workers who are not doing anything to join the new recruit team of the recruitment commission. They can help with the recruitment and they don't have anything else to do. 7 passes.
So Zona, that would definitely apply to you, and we would encourage you to come on Monday, tomorrow, for the lunar perigee in the recruitment commission if you're available.
Okay.
So Zilu, can you send out a reminder to the Jello team, to everybody who wants to do recruitment?
Okay.
All right. So
Any question?
I just
on
want
the proposal that had been reading?
I just want to note one thing. When we're categorizing all our decisions, especially for Venus, Venus session review, it's really important to know. Okay, so 6.5, so this is a 6.42. So a 6.42 doesn't pass because it actually averages down to a 6. A 6 is a positive abstention, but it doesn't actually pass. It's like an abstain, right? So a 6.5 rounds up to what's called a willing consensus, where basically
5 seconds.
5 second pause. Okay. Awesome. All right. So I was just mentioning really quick here that when you average down to a 6, right, a 6 is equal to what's called a positive abstention. And then when you average up to a 7, so a 6.5 averages up to a 7. So at 7 you get a willing consensus. So willing consensus basically implies that you have agreement, right? But you don't. But it's not necessarily, you're willing to go along with it, right? So I'm not happy about the old world budget, but I'm willing to go along with it for another month because whatever, it's not the end of the world, right? So that's what agreement looks like. But as an organization, we always strive to what's called supportive consensus, which is that you actively are supporting a proposal, right? So an active support for a proposal means that there's a positive relationship. So active/positive supporting a proposal, right? So what's really important to understand here is that we do have a few. So we have this one, the certification of the new moon results was a 7.5. This spreadsheet links and corresponding responsibly organizing links, that's a 7.5. So this rounds up to 8 as well, right? So we have 2 proposals, really one main proposal that actually meets the 7.5 criteria that bumps it all the way up to an 8. So our goal is always to get 8s, and this is what we strive for. A 9 is what's called congruency. And congruency basically is beyond agreement. Congruency means everybody agrees. So it's very rare to get, this is everyone, internal and external agreed. So that means that nobody can, to get a 9, nobody can vote against the proposal. So if there's any 6s or lower, a 9 obviously wouldn't apply. Right, so our goal is always an 8. As an organization, willing consensus is not enough. We don't just want people to be willing to go along with it. We actually want people to support the proposal. So it's just good to note that we had one proposal that would meet a different classification, right? So when you hit a 7.5 or above, that rounds up to an 8. That is a whole nother level of agreement, whereas a 6.5, to 7.4 is actually just willing consensus. Okay.
Yeah.
So when we go into our Venus session, we should actually have a list of proposals that are 8s. What passed with an 8, and then what passed with a 7. So we understand what the level of support is for that particular proposal. So everything that's not an 8, we would want to review more and see if we can get it up to an 8 through amendments. Okay. All right, let's move on. I just want to make sure it's really clear because our voting system is really specific, and I wanted to note that we have those levels of proposal. So Lucy, move us forward.
Okay, thank you, Jay.
Yeah.
The next step is proposal for co-chair, and Zilu will take us through. Zilu?
Zilu brother is a bit busy writing.
Zilu is on mute. Oh, there you go. Okay.
Okay, so the top elected person is Albina, who is current co-chair, and the person is re-elected for. Then Moon, after that Jessica and Maman got 5.2. The first co-chair goes to Albina, and second is Lucy.
I'm done with my 6 weeks.
So Albina, you have 3 weeks. You have 6 weeks left.
No? Yeah, 6 weeks.
To wait. So 6 weeks before you can become co-chair again.
Yeah.
And Zilu, how many weeks do you have left of co-chair? 4 weeks?
Yes.
Okay, so Albina stepping down.
Yeah.
Zilu has 4 weeks left. So are we missing somebody?
Awesome. That is good.
Who was co-chair before? Do we have anyone else waiting?
Abdul.
How many more weeks for Abdul? 2 weeks?
No.
But Abdul did.
He was the one to step down before me. So
Okay.
we were just 0.
So there would be 4 weeks left for Abdul?
Yeah, 4 weeks left for Abdul. 2 weeks left for Jessica.
What about Jessica?
2 weeks left for Jessica.
There's 2 weeks left for Jessica still?
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that's correct, but whatever. All right. So is there any other current co-chairs besides Zilu?
No.
Okay. So Lucy, do you want to be co-chair?
Yeah.
Okay. So Lucy is going to be the co-chair for 6 weeks, and then we have Zilu co-chair for 4 weeks. But why are we missing a co-chair? What's up with that? Why don't we just
Come up again, Jay.
We're missing a co-chair, so the next would be Jessica or Mamoon. Why don't we just put Jessica back as co-chair for another 2 weeks?
Yeah.
So we need to ask Jessica if she's willing to be a co-chair. So this is a task. And then if not, then it would go to Mamoon. Okay?
Okay.
And if it's not Mamoon, then we would skip Abdul and then we go to Steve. Okay? Also, when we do our election results, we don't do averages, we add up the total. I'm not sure where we got these numbers, but so for the future, add up totals, not averages. Okay. But it's good to note that if you are averaging, only Zilu, Lucy, Albina, and myself have agreement that we would be co-chairs. So it is a good noting, but either way, it doesn't matter. We just do plurality for co-chair voting. All right, so we'll go for Jessica. If Jessica can't do it, then we'll go to Mamoon. If Mamoon can't do it, we do Steve O. Steve O, if neither Jessica or Mamoon could do it, would you be willing? Steve, you there?
Steve. Steve is on mute.
Yes, pardon, I did not get the question.
The question is, if Jessica and Mamoon don't want to be co-chair, are you interested in being co-chair?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
I'm
cool.
willing to become.
Okay, so let's ask Jessica and then Mamoon, and if neither Jessica and Mamoon, then it would go automatically to Steve O, and he has said that he'd be willing. Okay, so we know we have at least a co-chair between those three people. All right, so Lucy, I think we're looking good.
Okay, let's move on. I think we are through the proposal.
Yeah. And ready for our
So we
stretch.
are moving. Come up again?
Stretch.
Yeah, we didn't stretch. Oh, okay. 30-second stretch.
Another proposal. We forgot a couple things in the proposals. My computer is not happy. Okay, so we forgot a couple things in the proposals. Well, we're doing our stretch. Let's do our stretch first. All right, so proposal to certify results from, what is this, quarter moon? First quarter moon?
Yes.
Are there any questions? Lucy, do you want to go through this one?
One question that we can do for the proposal that didn't pass, we can maybe make another proposal for 7 months, 12 hours day off, and after 100 months, 24 hours.
Can anyone hear Zilu? Want to say that again,
Didn't pass, that is
Can anyone hear Zilu? I can't hear anybody. Lucy?
I can hear you.
Okay, I can hear you.
I cannot
Lucy.
hear
I'm going to say again. Are you listening?
What is it?
One proposal didn't pass, which is that to shut down for the time between the end of the day and the beginning of the lunar session. It can be a proposal for breakup or shutdown of 12 hours and 24 hours weekends. And another proposal we can do. And after 2 weeks, we can do 12 hours, and after end of month, we can do 24 hours.
Okay, I mean, we can re-propose that if we want to, and we can also have a discussion about it and add it to our list of topics. Okay.
Oh,
so this would be our days off schedule proposal. Okay. She's certified though. So, Lucy, do you want to go through the certifications, or do you want me to do it?
Jessica says she will not be able to do the coaching.
Oh.
No, she.
Okay. Lucy, do you want to do the certification of the results, or do you want me to do it?
You can do.
Okay, so the proposal is to certify the results from the first quarter moon. Any questions? None. All right. Are there any concerns? None. Are there any objections? None. Okay. See, like it only takes like 10, 15 seconds to certify results. Proposal to certify results of the co-chair election. You said Jessica was not going to do it?
No.
So then she
traveled.
Yeah, so then we go on to Mamoon. So we need to ask Mamoon. So again, it would only be for 2 weeks because they would be just filling in for the one that wasn't done before. All right, so proposal to certify the results of the co-chair elections. Questions about the proposal? None. Concerns about the proposal? None. Any objections? None. All right, cool. So we have certification of our elections and our voting. All right, so now we can move on, Lucy, to our first topic.
Yeah.
Well, actually, there is.
So now, I think we are now through the proposal. We can start now reviewing 1 minute on our topics. I think we'll try our best because we really spend a lot of time on that.
Pause.
Not yet. We still have 1 minute to pause.
37 or 38, so it's still okay.
37, not yet 37. Oh, now it's 37.
So we'll do 37. Or we are watching behind. And just do pause. It's already 38 now.
Okay.
5-second pause. Just send cost then.
Oh, we already did it. Let's move on. Keep going.
Yeah.
So now we are going to start with the first proposal. I think we are through. Do we still have other proposals?
No.
There's a first topic that we need priority focus that we can review 1 minute on.
Well, if anyone else had any proposals, they can add them. Otherwise, I think we're fine.
Does anyone has a proposal?
No.
Then we move to super team budget.
So
For 1 minute.
This is completed, right?
Yeah. Super team budget. Can you link the results? Are we going to review 1 minute, Jay, or we just finish on that?
I mean, I think it's completed. I mean, we approved it and certified it was passed by the.
We're done with super team budget.
We are done. You know that on our priorities focus, so I should note this. The next number 3 is next month budget invoice tabulation 5 minutes. We will review for 1 minute first. We are going for review.
Okay, on invoice tabulation for next month, we have only 320.90. That's our potential income. Just link that one. Okay. That is what we have.
Anything else? I think that's the only information that we need. Any information for that, we can go deep later.
We are going to be reviewing the 5x calculations.
Okay.
So I think that we're good for moving forward with the budget. So we just need to create the budget and update it and get the ranking set up. So yeah.
Okay. We have super hard stock coordination.
So we
super hard stock coordination. anything that?
So we went through this some. It's pretty good. We still need to get more organized. There's also a lot of new hard stops coming. So we do want to update the hard stop spreadsheet, but overall, I think we're reasonably organized.
Okay. Then anything else on that?
Everybody should be taking on, hard stop priorities. So Steve-O, if you're not sure what the hard stop priorities, look at the super hard stop doc. And then everyone should also be taking on client work priorities as well. Check.
Okay, we move to the next, which is worker involvement verification. How far we now since we verified our budget there? Worker involvement verification.
What's the question?
We are on worker involvement verification, reviewing for 1 minute.
Worker involvement coordination. That is Albina.
Okay, worker involvement. What was remaining was super team budget, which we have gone through now. So,
and then the little on the super team schedule, but I think we're looking pretty good.
No, scheduling is done, Jay. MBT verification was completed. I think the remaining thing was super team budget.
So are we now out of Harista for that?
Now the question is, for the old work, Jay, are we going with the results that were certified, or
yeah,
what is the next step?
Yeah, so I would say that we just should do one last review, but most likely that we are done with that particular hard stop, which is good. But we're still on super hard stop.
At least we get out.
I need to update the spreadsheet, then that will be fine. It was only super team budget that was holding us back on worker involvement.
So now we have 1 minute on staffing position, in bracket MBA, MBE staffing and plasma. Reviewing on that 1 minute.
Okay, so we did review this a little bit yesterday. We covered kind of what staffing is, which is that it's for decision-making bodies. And we have different examples of staff positions. So I'm not sure what the exact question is, but overall, we're going to need, docs, processes, responsibilities, and just get organized, right? It's just that's a whole nother layer and level. If we think about it just for this month, we have the executive staff. So for example, the decision-making docs, and categorizing and organizing all the decisions to present to the Venus, which is the executive session, the executive team, right? That's staffing work. So it should technically be, budgeted work, right? So we need to create staffing budgets. I would say for now, we could say that our Venus budget is part of that, right? So the Venus budget would be part of the executive staffing. Also, we have Bouncil staffing coming up for the Earth session. So again, we do decisions, and we're going to be doing issues. There should even be plasma reporting to the Bouncil. So yeah. So this is a whole area that we were just getting into now. It's extremely important. So let's just keep it up. And we also have this in our, every single session, we're supposed to check in on our staffing goals during, it's the last agenda item after proposals. So we could, and so this is going to be client work. And our current staffing, we have New Earth. We've got,
1 minute over for that.
yeah, we got New Earth. We got World Play. We actually missed the Friday board meeting. Oops.
5 second breath.
This will be 15 seconds.
Breath.
And over time, we're going to have other people help out with the breath too. I'll do it this time, but in the future, let's see if anyone else wants to do it. So everyone exhale. And then everybody inhale together. And everyone exhale together. Very nice. Okay. So just going, it kind of relaxes us. It's like, oh yeah, we're actually human beings. All right, so in the async staffing and accountability doc, we missed the World Play Friday board meeting, so that's a problem, right? The New Earth, right, is also coming up. And there's also Mission Within for membership. And then internal, like I said before, we have the Venus coming up and the Earth. So Venus Executive and the Earth Council. The seasonal's already passed for management, so we don't need to worry about that for now. Okay, does everyone sort of understand or no?
Understand.
Cool. So this one is client, and this one is just USUESS support. So this is basically org support, and this is also org support. So we do staffing and accountability for organizations that aren't necessarily clients. So obviously we prioritize clients. These ones will be client. Okay.
Okay.
Cool. We can bold the client ones. All right, awesome. All right, so I think that's it for MB staffing.
Now we are moving to culture. We have done that. We will skip that because we are through issues. I don't know whether, do you have anything on that?
Well, we did go through our issues before. I don't know if there's any new issues or if we want to spend more time on that.
No. I don't know. I'm just following what is on our priorities focus.
Yeah. Well, so we had talked about trying to do 5 to 10 minutes per. Maybe just say per week. You know, to check in on issues. So let's go ahead and it's only been one session, so let's move on from that, and we can do it next week.
Okay.
Cool.
Payroll, reviewing on payroll.
Payroll.
Payroll, we are on service stop now for full moon service stop today.
Yeah, on payroll we need to do payroll accounting for this month. And is it 120? Yeah, so focus on accounting. We will just check the amount we have in the account. I also checked in with Abdul. He says that there is still issue with this. Is it the card, the bank card? So last time we were able to send him the amount, but we'll still check in with him.
Good job. And full moon payroll first verification triple is done. Just
the one is accounting. When we are done, we are accounting that.
Then oversign and accounting.
Cool.
Yes.
Okay.
So the also. Yeah.
Okay.
So also on payroll. It's definitely important. Obviously you do the payroll accounting. You got a schedule for the payroll. Also, it's good to mention that coming up into hard stops and soft stops, is the owner's payroll that we're not doing, and then we have bills and accounts receivable. So without accounts receivable, we don't bring in money, so therefore we can't pay people. And bills are basically the same thing as payroll, but instead of paying people, we pay companies for their services, right? So we need to do all of those, and this is going to be the first time that we're going to be required to do that. So these are the next levels of hard stops that are also starting today as well.
How is owner's payroll done, Jay?
It's a lot easier because it's just a few people, but we just need to check in on it and make sure that the owners get paid. Like, I haven't been paid for a couple months now, right? So it's just like, you know, it's important that everyone gets paid, not just the workers, that we also need to get owner payroll done as well. You know, it's just a different process. And it's much easier process.
Is that the work of manager to remind the workers to check on that?
What?
Is it the work of a manager to check on if owners get paid? Or the workers?
Sure.
Okay, who is responsible? Is it a manager, coordinator, or any person?
I mean, anyone can step up to help because no one's doing it right now, right? But eventually it'll be similar. It's basically the same as our current payroll, where we just need to work as a team and make sure we do the transactions for both the worker payroll and the owner payroll.
Okay.
And we have to do the money organizing, the accounts receivable, and the bills. I mean, it's all related. That's my point. It's all related. I end up doing all of it myself, you know, and you guys help with your payroll because you don't get paid otherwise. But I have to do all of the bills, all of the accounts receivable, all of the owner's payrolls. I do all of that, and it's just overwhelming, you know. So it needs to be more of a team effort.
Okay. Okay. Again, I did individual payroll. My individual payroll, is that okay? As I said last month, I should do my individual payroll.
If people want to do their own individual payroll, they just need to send it on Skype and propose it, and we can review it and get it approved and sent out. But again, it should still be within the time frame of the current payroll cycle. Okay?
Yes. I just include my individual payroll
on full month and you paid monthly. So is it okay?
Is it okay? Because it's just individual and the end of the month is finished and I include it on full month. Is it okay?
I don't really know what you're asking. I would need to look at it and
okay, the question is today, is it just anytime you make your own individual payroll, or you just have to go with the cycle you are in? Like if it's new moon, it just should be new moon. Or you can just do it.
So basically, if someone has a new moon payroll and we're still on full moon payroll, they could get processed during and at the end of the full moon payroll cycle. But we have to complete the full moon payroll before moving on to the new moon payroll.
Because Lucy, personally, individual payroll is on full moon, so she's asking if is it okay she do it during full moon when she's paid monthly.
At the end. So as soon as we finish full moon payroll, then we can go on a new moon payroll. And if someone has their individual payroll that they want to run before everybody else, that's perfectly fine as long as we finish this full moon payroll first. In the context of, in addition to if you're a payroll worker, that would still apply and that you just are getting paid before everyone else.
Then I think there is nothing work in individual payroll, because I think before you say when you are doing individual payroll, you can get paid anytime as long as you get verified by any work. If the payroll workers verify you, it's correct, then you can get paid. Then maybe there is no difference having individual payroll if you say I should wait after the end of the month.
No, let me try to make sure it's clear again. So let's say currently we all are on full moon payroll, right?
Mm-hmm.
Full moon payroll from last month. So it's been an exact 1 month since the last payroll, right? So that's what's currently, right? So this we are going on global soft stop, right? That is bad. Global soft stop, bad. Does everyone understand?
Yeah.
So we didn't get the payroll done. That's bad, right? So, you know, if someone has an individual pay for full moon can be, you know, payment can be sent immediately, can be verified and sent immediately for everyone else, right? Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so if you have individual pay for new moon, payment can be verified and sent as soon as full moon payroll is done. All right, so that could be as much as like 1-2 weeks before a new moon payroll. Does that make sense? And then payroll workers need to simply propose and get approved to get paid before everyone else. Right, that's a policy. So right now we could propose, you could say proposal, Lucy to get paid as payroll worker before other workers, right? And then we just approve that right now. So if Lucy has that proposal, we just approve it, see if there's any objections, and then it's done. Right? No better time to get a proposal out of the way than during a main session, right? Otherwise, you have to put it on Skype, and everyone ignores it, and that's a big problem, right? So it's up to you, Lucy, to decide if you want to propose that, but those are our policies. Do the policies make sense?
Yeah, so is it because Lucy includes individual pay on the full moon? So that one isn't going to be applicable until the full moon is done. So she has to send individual payroll.
Yeah, so but everyone understands why we wouldn't start the new moon payroll before the full moon payroll is even completed, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Can move on.
And of course, if somebody who wants to get paid individually can just change their preferences to get paid twice a month, and then they can get paid for the full moon immediately. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So if somebody wants to get paid once a month and they're like, well, I don't want to wait, I want to get paid immediately, well, that's perfectly fine as long as you get half your paycheck. We'll pay you immediately for individual pay, an immediate payment that's verified, as long as it's part of the existing payroll and that you're not getting paid more than everyone else. Okay?
Okay.
Can change to twice per month and get paid immediately. You know, so it's like it's just not fair to pay someone immediately for the full month before even other people got paid for their half month. It would make
No, that's not what I mean. I propose to have is having individual. When everyone gets paid for full moon, as a payroll worker, always paid by the end of everyone gets paid. So I should now get my payment because everyone is getting paid for their full moon. So for me, I have individual, so I get mine. If it is still a problem, there is no need. There is no need of having individual payroll because just like they say, like twice per month. Let's move on. I'll not focus on that.
Okay, but yeah, in general, it would be applicable for anyone who's not a payroll worker, because if they wanted to get paid early, they would just submit their new moon payroll, and we paid them at the end of the full moon payroll, and they would get paid immediately as soon as we finish the full moon payroll. So that could be as much as 2 weeks early. Do you understand?
Okay.
Yeah, so it is applicable and it does make sense, right? But obviously there is an additional step if you are a payroll worker, which is that if you're getting paid early, everyone approves it. All right, let's move on. So
we are at the top of the hour.
Yeah. Oh, break?
Break, 5-minute break.
Okay, and we do want to like get wrapping up here as well. I think we are, oh no, we have 15 minutes after the top of the hour. So I think we're pretty good. So yeah, let's do our 5-minute break and then we can come back and finish up. Is everyone good on time? No one needs to leave? All right, I think we're good.
I think we lost Zonad.
Oh, we did? Okay.
I'm back.
I'm also here.
Okay, you can move on to the next. We can move on.
All right. Well, we're definitely over time on our 1 minute each. So we could go to our actual agenda topic, or we're gonna just keep going. We only have 2 left. Looks like, oh no, we have a bunch left. Whatever you want to do.
Yeah, we have a lot, but at least all these, like, we cover them, most of them. Okay. So we are on client work coordination. So are you going to have 1 minute on that?
Okay.
Okay. Client work coordination. Are you reviewing something? What are the updates? I think we can have people choosing the client, the top 10 primary clients we have, maybe, or if we have something else.
So our top clients are still loading. Vienna, Economic Partnership, Worker Staff Systems, Accounting, Mission Within, the transition to the new structure. Then we got Finances and Taxes, Sponsorship Program, and New Corporations, and Fundraising. So those are our priorities. So I don't know if anyone has any questions about them, but we need everybody to take on client work because it is required. 28.5% client work. If you want to get paid. So anything else on the client work?
No, maybe just on taxes, just waiting for the form to update our W8. Then we move to overall ranking. We have something on that. Or we can skip that. Can we skip that?
What, the taxes?
No. Overall rankings.
Oh, overall rankings. What happened to the taxes? Did we skip the taxes?
The tax, they don't have more than that. It's just like a form. So you can send to people to update their details.
Before we go to the next step, we need to verify all the investors' names, the organizations are listed. After that, we can have the message ready and then can send out by giving mailman.
Okay.
First of all, we need to verify the names are correct. All of the names listed in the organization.
Remember, Tuesday it will be day off for us. Christmas Day. Christmas Day. Day off. Or it's just Christmas? Yes. I thought it's
Christmas isn't off for everybody. Christmas is off for just whoever wants to take it off. So some people don't celebrate Christmas and can work during Christmas if they want to.
Okay.
But it's just up to each individual to decide their own schedule. So, but obviously a lot of us will be taking Christmas off. A lot of us have to take more than just the day off. We have like family, and the whole week is going to be insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, I mean, if we go back to our schedule real quick, for the schedule, we're really looking at the Venus session being like, well, there's obviously the recruitment commission tomorrow, but then the Venus session is really the next major session. Like, there's not much that's going to be happening between that.
Tomorrow or Monday?
Tomorrow's Monday. Yeah. Oh, yeah, Monday. Yeah. So maybe it's the day after tomorrow.
No, tomorrow is Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah, so it'll be the day after tomorrow. Yeah. So in 2 days, we have the recruitment commission, and then there's the Venus session, and there's going to be, a little stuff happening off and on, but it's okay if not much gets done for the next week. But as long as we know what we're doing, we'll be fine. Okay?
Yeah. We can just maybe attend the Venus session if it is important, because it is going to be evening for us. Or maybe if we still spend our time with the last one also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for the taxes.
So for the taxes, we have the organizations Active, Z Collaborator, New Earth Organization, Bay Area Creative, Good Cause Group, Busy Enterprise, Mission Within, Another World, EXA.
Yeah, so we just need to put all that together. We're going to be creating an email list. I would say we just create one email update list and send it out to everybody, and just go ahead and verify through afterwards. Okay.
Okay.
So yeah, so we're really close on that. Good work, Zilu.
Okay.
And we can get that done the first week of January. We'll be fine.
January, okay.
Because that's when the hard stop starts, I believe. All right. So, but just keep going. Just keep bugging me every day as needed. Bug, and all right. Overall
just remind you are also supposed to complete of individual of each taxes. I was also supposed to say.
Great. Anything else, Elu, for the taxes?
No.
Okay. Can we move to management report? That's the next.
Okay, but for the overall rankings, we do need to get the average actual pay averaged out. We have the co-chair election, so we can average that in there and then get the overall rankings. It shouldn't be that hard, and anyone should be able to do that. Management reporting, we need to set the soft stop, hard stop deadline for that. So, it's like individual reports due on seasonal session, right? And then we do, and then we do, 1 week later would be group soft stop, right? And then 1 week we have group hard stop. I don't know. We'll have to figure it out whether we get 1 week or 2 weeks. So it either give us. We'll figure it out. Okay.
Okay.
But we do want to get the report.
Already management report is on spreadsheet.
It is?
Yeah, it's there.
What line?
I had it.
Which line?
Last time. Let me check. I'm not on there,
okay.
But I know it is there.
So I just have manager report verification, and it's still on Mercury session, so obviously that needs to all be fixed. But again, this is just that everybody fills out the report, which is different from getting the report completed, okay? So there's filling out the report. Maybe the report verification is different. So here's filling out management report, see spreadsheet, and then management report verification. All right, well, we'll figure it out. So we just need to update that and make sure it's organized correctly, okay? Because right now it's still on Mercury. It needs to be on seasonal. It needs to be like, you know, within X number of weeks. Okay? So are we ready to move on, or what's going on?
Yes. Yeah. Moving on to 5x. Then the last is
okay, so we covered this yesterday as well. For the 5x calculations, what I need, Albina, is the actual calculations for the 3.5x that we did before. Quick. But I am doing some calculations, like from my calculations, you know, internal to super team budgets. Bottom line, all we need is that if you have, we have 3 types. We have client work. Client work is paid, right? And then you've got internal ops is also paid, right? So then you have meetings and planning, right? So meetings and planning is unpaid, right? Well, paid from bus, paid from bus, unpaid from bus, right? But obviously the workers are paid, right? So therefore we need, so therefore you have, you end up with, you know, 0.666 is paid, and 0.333, well, let's just say 66.66% is paid, of work is paid, right? And then you end up with 33.33% of work is unpaid. So from unbus, right? Unbus. So in order to pay everybody for all work, to pay everyone for all work, you divide 100% by the 66.66% paid to get your additional. So if you do that, you end up with so if you do 0.66 divided by 1, no, 1 divided by 0.66666 is 1.5. So that equals 1.5x. Okay? And if you look here, it's actually more than 1.5x. It's 1.50001. So technically it'd be 1.51x. So it you know, by the calculations, technically you need more than 1.5. So 1.5 plus. So if we only did 1.5 before, that's a problem. It needs to be 1.5 plus. And that should give enough to do 1/3 time for unpaid work. So if we had 1.3 or 1.4, that's a problem, right? It needs to be at least 1.5x or more. And then from that, you should be able to calculate 33% time for client work, 33% for internal ops, and 33% for meeting and planning. Okay, and then the only thing missing is that even though we're saying 33% client work, our current calculation is 28.5%, right? Correct?
Yeah.
So if you do 28.5% client work, that would mean that the 1.5x should need to be a little bit higher, right? So if you do 28.53, I think we get a slightly different outcome. So so it would be 33.33% internal ops plus 28.5% client is going to equal 33.333 plus 28.5 is about 61.83. So if we do 61.8333 instead of 66.66, right? You're going to get a slightly different answer. So let's see what that looks like. So we do 100% divided by 0.61833. 1.6172. 1.61725x. So 1.62x. Okay. So that's a slightly higher value than what we currently have. So if we do 33%, we know that it's a minimum of 1.51x.
Okay.
If we're doing 28.5% client work, we still want to get 33%, but if we don't get 33%, we still should be able to make budget. So that would be a 1.62x minimum. So let's see if we can update link to actual calculations. Let's say. So this is really important because it affects everybody's payroll and the budget. So let's make sure we get this correct. My computer's going slow. Anyways, I can't remember what it was before, but it's possible that we were off by a little bit. So we just need to fix it. Okay? And it said calculations don't work. Does that make sense? And I think that 1.42, we were actually going for, I think what I did wrong with the calculations from before is that I was thinking, I was thinking 33.33%, right? And so I was thinking 1.33%, like 133% would be equivalent to having an additional third, but that's not correct. It's actually 150% is equal to 1/3. Does that make sense? Are you guys still there? Hello?